of owning a cafe and other heroic deeds by Beware the Twister. Chapter 42, Date Night, Part 1. By 1807, he'd successfully led all of the adults through their earlier sessions. They'd fussed over the birthday boys and enjoyed a few slices of cake. And he'd ensured that they'd all left with the address for the yoga studio 2 minutes down the street. The man who owned the wide, soft-surfaced, fully air-conditioned space had been more than happy to book slots on Sunday evenings for them, and the price was reasonable. The adults hadn't minded paying an additional 1,000 yen to their 1,500 yen service fee, at least. The kids, all still animatedly playing D&D, weren't showing any signs of stopping as he re-entered the cafe. He'd dipped upstairs, showered, and put on his better pair of black jeans with the cat sleeve maroon t-shirt Minna had requested. "And that should be criminal to look back at English, and his leather ankle boots. His hair was down for a change, but he had a bauble stashed in his back pocket out of habit. He'd shaved, too. He was starting to notice an increase in stubble as he got older, and although it was illogical to clear it, it'd only grow back, wouldn't it? The idea of wearing a beard guard to meet hygiene standards was bothersome. Therefore, the clean-shaven look would have to stay. Not that he minded, but his other little brothers had always lightly teased him about his young, pretty face. In just 6 weeks' time, they'd be coming for a real visit, and although he called them once a week and their photos were dotted about everywhere in the apartment, alongside those of his study group, their parents, and the teens, you couldn't hug a phone call, could you? God, they were getting to be so grown up now, too, weren't they? He hoped that all of the time they'd spent in their new care centers and foster homes in Tokyo, Kanazawa, and Kyoto wouldn't make Musutafu too boring for them now. Then, phone in hand, with his set of keys safely resting inside the front pocket, he headed back downstairs to the sound of the tots cheering a move they'd made in their game. Dabi and Tomra knew how to lock up. He'd texted them when he was coming home so they could deactivate the security system and let him in. Looking through the viewing window, he snickered as the decay quirk user glowered at the 3 dice laying before him, whilst his partner laughed and took a monster of some kind off of the board. And he'd have to try a game or two with them sometime, wouldn't he? "Okay, guys," he called as he walked through the door and into the service bar area, Ume and Ingo looking at him from the booth behind the gaming children as he smiled at them all. "Hitoshi, your bag is packed, ready for your sleepover, and I've boxed up cold soba for everyone if you get hungry, alright?" "Thanks. Aren't you looking a little too good for a date that's just for funsies, Kitten?" Dabi called, his partner nodding sagely whilst the women giggled and whispered amongst themselves. "Just don't forget that we want to have a talk with her before you go rushing off anywhere, alright?" "No arguments here," he said, his eyes looking out of the bay windows at the relatively quiet Sunday street. "I'm going to get the cats settled in for the night, okay?" "Oh, I'll come help you, Shoni. I've just taken my turn," Izuku, ever the thoughtful young man, called whilst his little form slipped out of the booth to skip after him after he shared a quick hug with his mother. "I can't believe that they've lived here for a whole week already, can you?" "I hear you, Izu." He smiled as they walked through the archway that Uraraka Ryo had made for them, their eyes moving to the glass-fronted enclosure. The shined looked like new every time he cleaned it, where in various states of play and sleep the felines awaited them. "Okay, can you get Hime for me? I'll handle Gigi and Holgra, alright?" "You got it, Shoni!" The younger smiled, his hands gentle, as he carefully pet the ragamuffin awake before scooping her up. No, Shoni?" the child continued, whilst he offered their oldest resident his fingers to sniff before curling his arms around the lightly snoozing cat and picking him up, the Siamese swiftly following. Do you think that I could be a vet, or maybe a doctor or something?" Blinking, his broader form holding the door open for the tot to scamper through it, the cafe owner regarded him fondly. "I think you'd make an excellent medical professional in any field," he replied honestly. "Having such a wonderful sense of empathy and care, well, I'm certain that you could find yourself very happy in such a career, and you definitely have the intellect for it," he praised, staring up at him, his cheeks pinked. Shoda then felt his smile soften when a flash of guilt crossed the boy's face. "Hey," He juggled his arms easily, maneuvering Gigi and Homura into their crates side by side before approaching the youth and crouching down to be at his eye level, the fluffy feline in the child's care, purring when he stroked her flank, his other hand ruffling the kid's hair.
As though she told you what he wants to do when he's older.
Mm-hmm. He nodded, that look still there.
Well, thinking about the hero agency you all want to build when you're grown up. Having a top-notch lawyer and a quirk specialist doctor on the team will certainly help all of you to reach that #1 spot, won't it?
You mean I can be both a hero and a doctor? The 6-year-old breathed, his eyes starry.
I'd argue that healthcare professionals are already heroes, but Izuku,
he stated, his tone firm,
you have the ability to be anything you want to be, alright? We'll have to get some industrial-sized tissue boxes for me and your mom to use when you graduate, though, won't we?
When all of the cats were safely in their crates, the kittens finally tuckered out after all of their play and antics. Shoda walked the freckled child back into the cafe proper, his eyes finding the teens outside where Midnight stood, her face shifting from bewildered to tense to scared. And then, ooh! Overjoyed, her arms thrown around the balking parent, squeezing them into her. Watching on, the eatery owner shared a chuckle with Izuku.
You said it.
He grinned.
I better get out there and rescue them before they suffocate, hadn't I?
He snickered. Then a quick wave to Ume and Inko, his hands ruffling Hitoshi and Denki's hair as they walk past him. Then a quick wave to Ume and Inko, his hands ruffling Hitoshi and Denki's hair as he walked past them on his way outside. His right hand had launched towards his face to smother his grinning lips as the teenagers were finally released. Your boss is so...
Shush!
Dabi hissed before turning around and stalking back to the eatery, his partner mortified. He should imagine that a hug of that magnitude being sprung on him was something that'd stay with him for quite a while. They needed to up his hug intake, didn't they? Shuffling next to him, those turquoise and crimson eyes meeting as they went. You're to be home by 2300, young man, the flame quirk user stated shortly.
And no funny business, lady, or else!
Tomar called over his shoulder. Watching them re-enter the cafe, his expression fond, Shoda turned back to the woman, his brows lifting when she smiled and presented him with a biker helmet. Her civilian-clad form, dressed in tight leather pants, too hot for this weather surely, a white frilly crop top, and a matching black leather jacket, stood in a confident stance as she winked at him. You ever had a correct dragon before? Blinking. She obviously meant the slender motorcycle, a Kawasaki Cruiser, if he wasn't mistaken. The eraser quirk user took the helmet and followed her to the two-seater, his free hand reaching for his bauble to make a quick neck-knit bun.
Once or twice,
he replied. Why had she squealed?
I used to make deliveries back when I worked at a Tokyo bakery,
he told her with a light shrug.
The company's small electric cargo scooter was probably a little slower than this, though.
He mused with a grin. Ah! Well, don't you worry, the older woman purred. I won't urge you too hard, okay? Jetting around Musutabu, thankfully at the city's speed limit, he could tell by her revving of the engine that she'd love to go faster, but as a hero, it'd be hypocritical for her to break the law, wouldn't it? On a bike was strangely thrilling. If it wasn't for the expense and the impracticality of maintaining and housing such a thing, he could become tempted to get a license. You okay back there? Was anything not Wi-Fi enabled these days?
Yeah, I'm fine,
he replied, his hands gripping the passenger bar behind him. She'd offered countless times for him to hold her hips or waist, of course. However, he'd found himself blushing and declining every time. He never really experienced physical intimacy with anyone, and although he wasn't sure why he found such a gesture inappropriate, he did. Would he feel that way about potentially touching one of the men he was going to venture out with? It was something to think about, wasn't it? Especially since he was supposed to be exploring who and what he liked, in a romantic sense, wasn't he? We're about 5 minutes away from our date destination, the bro hero continued. Her tone sounded a little too excited, didn't it? He wasn't quite sure what a fetish dungeon was, but Tommy had told him enough to make him add a taxi service on speed dial. Surely she wouldn't pick such a place to take him, right? We're going to do something that I always wanted to try, and I just know that you'll be amazing at it too. She cooed. You inspire me to book a session for us, you know? Blinking, his body leaning into the next bend. Driving something like this was probably really fun, wasn't it? Shoda started to think about the conversations they'd had in the past. Nothing inspirational really sprang to mind, and if she was taking him to some kind of cooking class, that'd be interesting, but he would have given her lessons in anything she'd wanted to try other than sushi, if she'd asked. A year's worth of training seemed illogical to him, regardless of it truly being a form of art. God, he hoped that she hadn't spent her hard-earned money on something he could have provided for her free of charge. Rounding two more corners, his eyes looking around at the city he'd grown up in but never really explored, his hindbrain flagged up that they were heading towards the entertainment district. Karaoke. They'd been traveling for 10 minutes, and the conversation flowing, Midnight had asked him to guess about their plans as they neared where his first date would take place. No, that's more Meg's territory than mine. Right. Said he hoped that the blonde didn't pick that for an activity. Mike was taking him out after his birthday in a week's time. He'd be visiting the detention house with Hitoshi in the morning, providing the voice quirk user's birthday party in the afternoon, and so long as his ward was all right, the bro said he'd be happy to take a rain check. If not, they'd hout out in the evening. He was pretty sure he was tone deaf. Bowling. Honey, do I look dressed for a place full of screaming kids, stinky shoes, nachos, and cheap beer? Did you dress a different way for such things? Sure, getting dolled up for weddings, anniversaries, graduations, and festivals he could understand, but the whole wardrobe thing, outside of summer clothes versus winter, was something completely irrational to him. And expensive besides. Kabuki. Fun, but no, she giggled. But you're getting warmer. Huh. An acting class? Ugh, please God, no! Outside of karaoke, you couldn't think of anything worse. No, would I force such a flashy, attention-grabbing thing on you, Shouta? Yes, you would, he thought. Just how injured would he be if he jumped off of the bike while it was moving? They weren't going that fast, were they? What? Okay, I'll tell you! She called, the vehicle slowing as they approached an underground parking lot, his head tilting up to try and see any of the tall buildings' advertising banners and billboards. We're going to have a pole dancing lesson. Pole dancing? Blinking. It had been an Olympic sport for some time now, hadn't it? Shoda heard himself hum. Now just hear me out, okay? She asked, the cruiser sliding down and through the barrier, which lifted as they neared it. You were the head of your middle and high school gymnastics teams, right? She furthered. So I figured this would be something fun that we could enjoy together, and you'd be using a skill set you already have. She chirped. I thought that this would be a logical thing for us to do, you know? Chuckling, the bike coming to a stop, the cafe owner slipped off of his seat and grinned at her. Okay, he said, his shoulders rolling in a light shrug. Why not? Zo-chan, a former gold medalist in her sports, had greeted them at the fancy gold-gilded doors, her saccharine smile wide as she circled him and Midnight in turn, her opal eyes dancing with excitement. Her studio, if you could call it that, spanned 3 stories and offered everything from beginner's courses to full packages and advanced training for people with Olympic ambitions. The place was overall aesthetically pleasing. The floors were lacquered obsidian, the walls glossy and sparkling, and in the lobby, a selection of poles were arranged around the expansive waiting room's chairs with cardboard cutouts of her stuck to them in various poses. Poses from her glory days. She was only 34, wasn't she? But as they signed in, they were booked in for an hour-and-a-half session with complimentary showers and costumes. He found himself not particularly daunted until... I love it when people with actual muscle tone sign up for a premium class. She cooed, her body circling him in a predatory manner before winking at the pro and leading them out of the lobby. Then, as they walked through the glitzy corridors, the sound of pulsing Western music bouncing around them, and the glittery walls peppered with posters, prize-winning photographs, and celebrity testimonials almost blinding. Shoda regarded his date with a light frown.
I hope you didn't pay a ridiculous amount for this,
he said quietly.
Would you please allow me to pay half?
No, your life, Shouta.
She winked.
This is my treat and my pleasure, okay?
Huffing at her but nodding. He didn't want to appear rude. The eatery owner sighed.
So long as you're sure, I mean. It's not that I aren't grateful.
You're just a big old sweetheart, aren't you?
She cooed.
You do so much for everyone else, Shoda.
She smiled, her arms looping around his right as they walked towards the studio.
It's not wrong to let us treat you for a change, you know?
Entering a private changing room, his shoulders relaxing slightly when he saw a simple black t-shirt and shorts in a soft cotton lycra fabric. He quickly changed and placed his valuables into the locker provided, his eyes catching himself in the full-length mirror as he made a leave. What in the world are you doing, huh? He asked himself, a smile tugging his lips at the ridiculousness of it all. But hey, you only lived once, and he just knew that his teenagers, his first set of brothers and his sons, would get a real laugh out of this when he told them about it. Hell, maybe they'd let him record himself having a go? He certainly wasn't opposed to laughing at himself after all, and it'd be nice to have this occasion commemorated, wouldn't it? Then, after sucking in a breath, he walked back out into the laminated floor space, his eyes looking to the selection of poles, surrounded with thick pillowed padding upon the floor to mitigate any injuries, where Midnight was stood in a similar outfit with Jo-chan, who'd gone full sequin leotard. Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful.
The fiery redhead grinned, her hands clapping together.
So then, my pretties, let's start our premium workout with some stretches, okay?
Yagato Shinori knew fundamentally that he shouldn't be pining. Shota-kun was an amazing, incredible, talented, and generous person, and as genuinely thrilled as he was that the other was getting attention and companionship he deserved, well, he was a little jealous. It wasn't as though he wished that he'd been brave enough to ask him out first, of course. No, what Midnight had arranged was fantastic, and he would continue to thank her and Mirai, who jumped in to ensure that they could provide him with a pleasurable Sunday evening too, for her forethought and confidence. However, as he sat here in his penthouse's bedroom, the quiet of the evening, something that he used to relish, he loved his job, he loved his life, he loved being able to make a difference in their country and bring peace to its citizens, but getting even a night off from showboating and missions was nice, once in a while. Now it seemed flat. He missed the sounds of the little study group laughing. He missed the ambience of the cafe. He missed the delicious food, refreshing drinks, and company of people he didn't have to play up to. It was silly of him, really, but try as he might, he couldn't visualize Shoda anywhere else, and so, knowing that he was out in Musutafu somewhere, hopefully laughing, smiling, and having a good time, he wanted to see that. But I grumped at him when he'd said as much today.
Then why didn't you ask to be his first date?
His sidekick had asked, those incredible eyes looking at him bewilderedly.
Because I do want to be his last, before he makes a decision. If there is a decision to be made.
He chuckled back.
I would like to, what's that American phrase? Leave an impression.
He chuckled. Yes, he wanted to be a memory that would linger, if nothing else. He would be happy with that too, of course bzz, 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 bzz. Midnight has added you to Shota Date Chat. Well, wasn't that thoughtful? Everyone involved with their attempts to provide the favorite cafe owner with fun experiences was in there, including the raven-haired man himself. Midnight.
He's letting me film this, I swear.
Huh? Blinking at his phone, his body sitting up in bed, Toshinori regarded his phone belatedly as a range of video messages started to load, his smile broadening. Ah! Where were they? What had they been up to? Had she surprised him with a picnic in the mountains? Had they gone for a walk along the beach fronts? Perhaps they were doing something a little more adventurous? Rock climbing was apparently a first date favorite now. He video message. Fireman spin. Fireman? He murmured. Oh, was Midnight trying to get him into a hero program by starting off with an emergency services training session? Wasn't that a... Oh my god, are you seeing this? Looking in the young woman's face. So lovely, so confident. The number one pro was preparing himself to see Shoda dressed in full firefighting apparel when... Ma, you're a natural kid. What? Lean, muscular figure, hugged by rich ebony fabric from his shoulders to his upper thighs. Shoda's body climbed up a shiny gold pole before artfully, sensually spiraling down it, his limbs poised and arranged just so before he landed to strut around in a circle. Present Mike. Indeed! Feeling his mouth become suddenly incredibly dry, his thumb was moving to tap on the next message before he knew what he was doing. Video message. Back hook. Then, there he was again, like something out of a dream, his body slowly spinning, his head tilted back as though some unseen force was pulling him and rotating him around with all of the grace of a pirouetting ballet dancer. The sultry music in the background a perfect accompaniment to his movements. Laughed out. Nemo, you're a genius! Video message 3. Swan! Dear God, he had never seen such graceful movements. Shoda's face was relaxed as he went through the motions before he snickered, as though he didn't look like $1 billion, at the camera whilst he waved his arms elegantly in tandem. Sir Night, I'm lost for words. This footage is... Video message 4. Skater! And then his body moving about the pole as though he'd been practicing for years. Maybe he had been? He thought that was unlikely given how busy the man usually was even before he bought his cafe and turned all of their worlds upside down for the better. He composed himself into a perfect sculpture, looking at Midnight. Ready for the big finish? Laughed and fell to the padded floor in a belly flap, the sound of the female hero laughing herself silly whilst the other person, the instructor, within the room, tutted and told him he was a prodigy. I'm telling you, please don't tell me that you already have an agent. You could win big. Filtering over the music. Then that beautiful form, almost as beautiful as the man himself, sat up and laughed, his head shaking ruefully at her. It'd be illogical for me to pursue this as a third career, Zo-chan, but thank you for your offer. Then just like that, it was over. Wow. Midnight. Well, boys, I don't mean to brag too much, the young woman typed to them, but I think all of you are going to find it hard to top that, now aren't you?